Hey, welcome back everybody. Today's video, we're going to talk about Wickerbills. It's been a kind of a hot topic the last couple of weeks. We're going to explain to you what the Wickerbill is and what it does. Stay tuned, coming up next.
Hi, I'm Billy Dietrich, sprint car mechanic and driver. I've been around racing my whole life and it's pretty much all I know. We created this channel to share the good and the bad and everything in between. Our crew may not be the most experienced or professional, but we get it done and we have a good time doing it. We'll show you what it's really like racing weekly at some of the best tracks in central Pennsylvania. I'm also going to share some sprint car tutorials, mechanics, and parts, and whatever else I feel like. So like, subscribe, and ring that bell for notifications. And enjoy the ride. Yeah, boy!
All right, well, let's start off by actually talking about the wing itself. We have a 5x5 wing. So what that means is it's 5 feet in width, 5 feet in length on the body, this part here. And then we also have the wing panels, one on each side, of course. And they are 30 inches tall overall. So from the very bottom to the very top of the wing panel, it can be maximum of 30 inches right and left. It can't be any higher than that. It's in the rules. And then the panels themselves are 6 feet long. So the rules state 5 feet by 5 feet, 30 inches tall on the panel. You can move them panels up and down if you want, but the panel itself, 30-inch maximum, 6 feet long maximum as well. So there is the gist of the wing, and this is, like I said, the rules state this is the specifications they have to be, and this is what everybody's box looks like that they can work in when it comes to performance and downforce. All right, so let's talk about the actual performance of the wing and what the wing is on the car for. It's on the car for downforce. You know, it's to plant the rear of the car in the ground. So we got a 410 sprint car or 360 sprint car, whatever it is. You know, all this horsepower, you're trying to hook it up. So then we have the wing to do that. And you know, this particular wing, which is part of the reason why they're talking about changing the Wickerbill rule, which we'll get into that in a second. But this particular wing is a flat top wing. What that means is from the leading edge of the wing to the tail of the wing, there is no dish. This is 100% flat. The purpose of that is to, believe it or not, to not have as much downforce. So since we have 25 square feet, there's a ton of downforce here just to start with. So a couple years ago, well, maybe it's been longer than a couple, probably 8 to 10 years ago, they implemented a rule where the wing had to be flat on top. So we have a flat top wing, and that was to reduce some of the downforce, some of the drag. Now, over time, things have evolved a little bit, and the rules have changed a little bit. And of course, we've gotten more horsepower. We've changed their tires. Everybody's searching for more grip. And when you get more grip, you get more speed. And sometimes you get, some will say their racing is not as good. So that's our current wing configuration. We got a flat top wing. We still have plenty of downforce with just the wing itself. Next, we're going to talk about the Wickerbill and what that does. All right, so back here on the very end of the wing, the tail of the wing, we have what we call a 1-inch Wickerbill. So this Wickerbill right here is 1 inch tall. 1 inch. 1 inch tall, not 1 inches. Excuse my grammar there. But anyway, so we have a 1-inch Wickerbill. Now, you might say, well, it's only an inch. You know, how much can it do? It can do a lot. You know, this 1-inch kick up is 90 degrees. From the back edge of the wing, has to be 90 degrees. It can't be any more than 90. You know, you don't want it coming up and going in. That would create even more downforce. So they went with a 1-inch Wickerbill originally, flat top wing, 1-inch Wickerbill, maximum. And then over time they thought, well, if we went up to 2 inches, it would give us more downforce and maybe would make the racing better. So what we have now is the option to go as high as 2 inches. So I want to demonstrate quick so everybody understands. This is a very easy change. These are actually 4 Zeus buttons. It holds this Wickerbill on. You can change this real fast if you had to. Simple as 4 buttons out. This piece slips right out of there. Just lay this one right here. And you just insert the second, whatever you're going to a 2 inch. Just slips right in there. Of course, when you're trying to do it fast, you can't. Anyway, it just slides right in, and boom, you put your Zeus buttons back in the hole, and you're ready to go. So this is a real easy change. The Wickerbill itself is not expensive. It's just a piece of flat aluminum, basically bent in a 90-degree angle. And there you have it. You have your 2-inch Wickerbill installed. Now, I said you can go as high as a 2-inch. Most guys don't go less than 1, but you can. You could go less than 1 inch if you wanted to. You could go 1.25 inches, 1.5 inches, 1.75 up to 2 inch. Now, this makes a huge difference. When we're talking Wickerbills, going to a 2-inch Wickerbill, obviously you're doubling the amount of downforce going from 1 to a 2. It may not look like a lot, but I can tell you for sure it makes a huge difference in the way the car handles and the way you set the car up even. You've got more drag on the back of the wing, which plants the back of the car more. Actually, in my opinion, it'll plant the left rear of the car even harder. And that also creates somewhat of a problem sometimes because the car's on the left rear harder. And what you might see is, and if you've probably seen this if you watch racing enough, you'll notice where certain tracks, maybe not so much here in Pennsylvania, but out of the area, everybody will be running the top of the track, and next thing you know, they'll start moving down off the cushion a car length. Well, the reason that is, typically is because this Wickerbill, this 2-inch Wickerbill, is putting that much force down on the left side of the car that's scrubbing the left rear tires extra hard into the ground, creating a lot of friction, which creates heat, which then creates wear, and then the rubber comes off the tire, goes on the track, and then next thing you know, the guys that are running the cushion move down one lane off the cushion because the left rear tire puts rubber down the track. So that's part of the reason why I believe it's one of the reasons why they may be thinking about getting rid of this 2-inch Wickerbill, is because it almost performs too well. All right, so let's talk about the Wickerbill. There's several different points I want to hit on this topic. First of all, let's talk about when you would use a taller Wickerbill. I'm sure that if you're out there and you're watching this, you might say, well, why would you even need to switch your Wickerbill? Or why wouldn't you want more downforce all the time? Well, here's why. When the track's wet and fast, typically we have all the traction we would need. So the 2-inch Wickerbill is obviously going to create more drag, which in a sense would slow the car down. So when the track's wet, it's early in the night, warm-ups, time trials, even heat race, most of the time, the majority of the time, you don't need a 2-inch Wickerbill because the track already has enough traction in it that it would actually hurt your car more than help. So you'll find that most guys will just start them out with a 1-inch, leave it on through qualifying, and then when the track starts slowing down, you start seeing dust, track starts getting black, at that point in time, they'll change the Wickerbill. There are a few exceptions to that. Maybe if the straightaways are really heavy, for whatever reason, or once in a while you hit a track where the straightaways stay wet and the corners are dry, or vice versa, you might waver on that as far as when you're going to change it, when you're not going to change it. The other thing, performance-wise, when you go with a taller Wickerbill, this has kind of been a hot topic. I'm sure you've heard about the phrase dirty air. In other words, dirty air, you hear it in NASCAR, you hear it in sprint car racing. It's pretty crazy to think about all this air in an open cockpit car that we have this problem. Well, we do. And as a driver, you can definitely feel the problem when you get close to a car, right? You know, you're closing in on a car, especially on a bigger track. You can feel the dirty air and how it affects the car. You almost feel like you can, it's almost like hitting like buffer, like, you know, like when you're driving down the road, if you're ever on an airplane and you got headwind, you know, you're kind of like trying to punch through there. That's kind of what it feels like. I don't really know as to why it feels that way, other than just the void in the air, somehow the way the air comes over the Wickerbill. But, you know, this tall Wickerbill creates it amplifies that dirty air feeling or sensation. You know, when the air comes off this Wickerbill, it creates some form of a pocket, or, you know, I'm not Dale Earnhardt Sr. I can't see the air like he could when he was drafting, but, you know, it creates dirty air, which in a sense hurts the racing, and that's one of the problems that guys are having with the 2-inch Wickerbill. So we're going to hopefully alleviate some of these problems if they decide to change this Wickerbill moving forward. All right, I wanted to circle back to something that I wanted to hit on earlier in the video. When I was describing the shape of this wing, how it was a flat top wing, and before we ran flat top wings, we were allowed to run what they call a dish wing. Now, there were several different versions of a dish wing. I can remember years and years ago, back in the early 90s or even 80s, on, you know, right up on through probably the early 2000s, you could have a dish wing. The whole length of the wing, it was dished. You know, kind of like a banana. You know, that would be the extreme of it. It was kind of shaped like that. You know, have a dish all the way through here, just like a, you know, like maybe an airplane wing, this is basically an airplane wing flipped upside down. How the belly of the wing is rounded. Well, the top of our wing should be rounded like that as well. Then they eventually changed that rule to try and, when they felt they had a problem, here again, I think all these rules go back to the World of Outlaws, which seem to follow all their rules, which I'm not sure why we do that, but we do. The Outlaws said, okay, we're going to change the top wing rule. We're going to allow you to have a dished wing, but only the last 12 inches of the wing was dished. So we went from having pretty much free range to do whatever we wanted with the wings to having the last 12 inches of the wing was dished. And no Wickerbill. They went with the last 12 inches was dished with no Wickerbill at all. And then there were some other variations of that rule throughout the years when it came to the dish. Maybe even the Wickerbill too, but I think the last rule we had before we went flat was last 12 inches, which would basically be from here to here. You could have a dish wing and then no Wickerbill. That wing seemed to perform pretty good, but then for whatever reason, you know, they decided they were going to change it, went to a flat wing with the Wickerbill. But that's a little bit of the history on the wing. The 5x5 part of it has been in the rules for years, but the dish and the Wickerbill thing kind of been a constant change. But there you go. That's the history on the wing. All right, so I'm here with Danny. We're going to talk about what we think about the current wing rule and what our thoughts are moving forward. Danny, what do you think about the current wing rule, 2-inch maximum, and what it does to the cars? You know, how does it make the car feel?
I just think we're too locked down. You know, it adds a lot of grip, especially to the left rear corner of the car. And, you know, we've always been so dependent on being either, you know, so used to being even on the tires as far as getting them both in the ground that you basically can put a Wickerbill on and kind of essentially stick your left rear like we used to stick our right rear growing up.
Right, so basically what he's saying is it distributes the weight to the left side of the car more abundant than if you didn't have it.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of catches it like a parachute up here on that wing board. You know, the right side sticking up kind of blocks the right side from being as effective as when you can see it over here on the left side where it's completely in clean air and opened up. With the wing board, it kind of traps that air there as well. So you definitely get more effect from the Wickerbill on the left rear than you do the right rear. You know, currently we're getting ready to go to Florida, and they're going to, you know, make it so you can only run a 1-inch Wickerbill. I think you'll see better racing. You won't be quite as locked down. You know, maybe
when the track's got moisture on the bottom, you won't see as many people just running the bottom and making the rest of the track dirty. You know, right now, if there's a little bit of moisture, we can get our left rear tires on it and actually stick our left rear tire in it. And you're kind of dependent on that to get you through the corner, which makes the rest of the track kind of shitty up across.
Yes, that's a good point. I didn't even think about that, how the Wickerbill plant in the car can, in a sense, change the lane of the dominant lane or the preferred lane so much.
Yeah, I mean, that's, over the last few years, we've seen a lot of rubbering up on the left rear tire.
Right.
This is why. We're so stuck on the left rear that, we almost need to get back to where like both tires are unhooked. Right now, we went from being so stuck on the right rear years ago, or relying on the right rear, to now you roll the Wickerbill on and you're stuck on the left rear. Your right rear really isn't as important, and you can actually get lower on the racetrack and make speed.
Because you got more downforce.
Because you got more left rear stick, more downforce in that left rear corner. So, it's all about finding that balance then to get us to that way you can get your left rear in there and keep your right rear still somewhat flat and zip around there. But I think it'll clean the race. Not only are we going to get the dirt up in the air, or dirty air not as bad, the hole's not going to be as big, but we're not going to be able to stick the left rear on a small strip of moisture as easy, which will make guys run the top more, and then the track will stay cleaned off for better racing.
Do you think that this 2-inch Wickerbill, for lack of better terms, makes it easier? Or is the setup when you went?
Yeah, I mean,
when you went from 1-inch to a 2-inch, you feel like it just automatically helped that guy get faster?
Yeah, I mean, it made guys who weren't that stuck in the racetrack be more stuck. I mean, you're kind of playing the whole rear end, but you're really playing the left rear. And then, like I said, we rubber up. Makes it really hard to pass people, when you make the track dirty. You can't run around them anymore because you just carry so much more speed with a Wickerbill.
Right. So you can just, with that Wickerbill, you can say, like Danny said, it makes the track dirty. You can all of a sudden, now you can just turn left, drive to the bottom of the track, and that throws all that moisture across the track, and then basically it's a one-lane racetrack.
And not only that, you can get off the corners faster.
Right.
So you got a guy that isn't as good. As long as they can get in the corner, they're automatically going to get off the corner faster because they got more forward drive.
And it's going to help you get in the corner as well because the thing's going to sit on the left rear.
Right. I think the race will be good. I think that going to the 1-inch Wickerbill is going to be a benefit for sprint car racing. If we go back to it, I think it will. I think we will. I think they'll see good racing next coming weeks, and then I foresee it going forward being a 1-inch Wickerbill from then on, just because the racing I think will be better.
Yeah. Do you think
that will slow down?
We'll unhook the cars, which ultimately is kind of what led us to where I said earlier, we went from the dish wing to the flat wing in a sense to try and unhook the cars. Then we kind of got off track here with the 2-inch, I feel like. Do you, over the years, which wing package do you feel like was probably the best? Would you say the last one we have, the 12-inch, the last 12 inches of being dished, or what do you think?
I never really ran that much.
No?
No, because like the last year, the first year of 410 was the last year for that wing.
Right.
And, I was still starting out. But I don't really know much more other than the flat wing, and I think that the flat wing with the 1-inch was made much better racing. Maybe more grooves in the racetrack. Maybe you got a little more just plain black slick all the way across. I think that made more racing. Not to mention, the top was a little faster because you carry momentum. You had to be really good to go to the bottom. You think back to like when Williams Grove used to get way out on the top of 1 and 2. That was like 1-inch Wickerbill kind of thing.
Right.
Now you just roll in there with your wing speed with a Wickerbill and you can scoot and get right off the corner. Where, if you have a 1-inch Wickerbill, you're not going to be able to just be so locked down going to the bottom. Right. The 1-inch Wickerbill will make the guys who want to carry the speed out and around, bring them back to the driver's seat, and it'll create more lanes.
Right. Do you think that, to finish this up here, the dirty air is always, everybody talks about it. When you're racing, especially at say the Grove or Port Royal, when you catch somebody, what's that? Try to explain to everybody what that feels like when you're getting dirty air.
Well, you just feel like you stall out. Essentially you lose grip. Port Royal is really, really bad for this. You get behind somebody, you just feel your car not being ready. You can just feel it lift up in the air. I'd imagine little while since I've been to Knoxville, never been that great, but probably the same type of thing in Knoxville. You can't follow nobody. We're so mentally trained now to not follow the car in front of you because of clean air. You know, let's face it, you got this big thing on there, and when it's in clean air, it's catching a ton of air. You get yourself behind somebody, you might as well lay that thing down. So you're going from one extreme to the other.
Right. So it's essentially the passenger car. The second car
Right.
lost all the air.
While the first car's got 2 inches.
The first car has all the air, and the second car has none.
Correct. So regardless of how big the hole is going to be for clean air, dirty air, the guy in front's not going to have as big of an advantage as the guy who may not have all the air anymore. You know, it's going to slow the lead car down a little bit. They're not going to be locked in the racetrack as hard. So the difference between the first car and the second car won't be as big.
Right.
Not to mention the hole won't be punched as big. I mean, you ever watch the rooster tail off of the back of a car like it baps or something, where the sunlight's hitting it, 2-inch Wickerbill, it shoots the air way up, you know, the dust way up in the air. You know, it can't go as far if it's got a 1-inch Wickerbill.
Right. Well, that's some good information. We'll see what happens in the future. You'll be one of the first to know because you'll be down there.
Yeah, I think it'll be good. And hopefully it cleans tracks off, and hopefully they adapt it. But I think it'll be good.
There you have it. Wing Talk 101 with BD, Double D, and Titan Wings.